What are the 5 games that define you as a gamer? I'm going to give you my 5 games, but I'd really love to hear yours. So let's get into it with 5 games that made me a gamer. And when I say 5 games that made me a gamer, that does not mean these are my top 5 favorite games of all time. There might be a favorite game in there, but these aren't a list of my top 5 favorite games of all time. That's just not what this is. These are important games that I played throughout my life that really pushed me into being a gamer and kind of pushed me right back into gaming, maybe when I was out of gaming. But they're games that are so good and that really pulled me into the hobby. So today, let's take a look at them, man. And I'd love to hear yours. Let's have a good discussion. But here's the 5 games that made me a gamer. We kick things off with a true classic. Space Invaders, released in 1978 for the Atari 2600. This simple yet addictive game was my gateway drug into the world of gaming. Those pixelated aliens endlessly marching down the screen were both terrifying and strangely captivating. With just a joystick and a fire button, I spent countless hours blasting away alien spaceships and desperately trying to save humanity. This was such a great experience the first time I played it, and this is the first console game that I played at home that was not Pong. And man, I was hooked. My brother-in-law and sister had bought an Atari 2600, and they set it up in their room and let me come over and play it one night. And ever since then, I knew I had to have an Atari 2600. So the first game that really defines me as a gamer is Space Invaders for the Atari 2600. Well, the first time I actually played an NES console was when I brought it home after winning it in a drawing, a contest. So it was pretty cool. There was a local store in a small town that I lived in Akron, Colorado, and they held a drawing for an NES. And then the NES was the system that did not come with any games. It had everything you needed to play, but it did not come with a game. And the store owner that was giving the console away gave me the choice of 3 games, and I can't remember what the other 2 were, but I knew Excitebike from the arcade, so I chose Excitebike. And man, when I got this home and played it, and I mean, to me it looked exactly, sounded exactly, played exactly like the arcade, and it was just awesome. My nephew Chad and I stayed up all night that first night I got my console home and just played Excitebike. We created tracks. Of course, you couldn't save the tracks, unfortunately, but there was a lot of fun to be had there. So anyway, yes, the second game that defines me as a gamer is Excitebike for the NES. Well, the year was actually 1990, the first time that I played a Madden football, and it was the original John Madden football. And playing that game opened my eyes and really made my purchase of the Sega Genesis feel like a good purchase. It was amazing. And the only place that you could play that original game back then was on the Sega Genesis. Now then, they went through several different versions of Madden football. Every year they would come out with a new version, of course. But this was the time where they were actually adding features. Nowadays it's just kind of copy paste, whatever. They don't care. They really, EA could care less about their franchise at this point, unfortunately. And it was before the monopoly, so they actually had to do good work and code a good game. But Madden football on the Sega Genesis was amazing. And if you wanted to play a sports game and play it, the best sports games without slowdown, I'm sorry, but the Sega Genesis was the place to play it. Man, The Sega Genesis had so many awesome sports games. It just blows my mind, and it was a huge part of video gaming back in the day, back then, is having some really good sports titles, and the Sega Genesis had them in spades, of course. So, yes, the third game that defines me as a gamer, and I'm going to say the entire series of the John Madden football series on the Sega Genesis. What a great experience. Hours and hours spent playing with my cousins, my nephews, and friends. Madden football, side by side on the couch, talking trash. It was an amazing time and a great time to be a gamer. So, Madden football, the third game that defines me as a gamer. In 1994, things took a dark and thrilling turn. With Doom for the Atari Jaguar, this intense first-person shooter blew my mind. With its fast-paced action, immersive 3D graphics, for the time, of course, and hordes of nightmarish demons to slay, Doom wasn't just a game, it was an adrenaline rush. It definitely wasn't for the faint of heart, but for me, it was a defining moment in my gaming journey. And it really was. Playing Doom for the first time, and it was the very first time I played Doom, was on the Atari Jaguar. First third-person shooter I've ever played. And it was just an amazing experience. And I remember having my cousin Thomas over one night to play, and both of us just being up all night playing this game, and kind of like we would pass it back and forth, just taking turns playing the same guy, getting as far as we could, and it was just awesome, man. There were several times there was actual jump scares, where you could hear the monsters in the background, and you turn the corner, and then boom, they're right in your face. Hordes and hordes of monsters, and just this started me off on a journey of playing and loving first-person shooters, and actually purchasing a PC to pursue Doom and more first-person shooters that weren't available on the home consoles back in the day. A lot of times they were only available on the PC. So, there you go. The fourth game that I would say defines me as a gamer is Doom, and it's Doom for the Atari Jaguar, nonetheless. So there you go. In 1997, everything changed because I got a PlayStation 1. And I remember ordering it out of a mail order catalog, and I had two choices of games. Two games came with the system. They weren't packed in, they came separately. The system was actually packed in with a demo disc. I don't know if you guys remember those demo discs that came with the PS1s. But they were pretty cool, man. They would keep you busy for a little while. But the two games I chose was Battle Arena Toshinden and Ridge Racer. And Ridge Racer just blew me away. The 3D graphics, the sights and sounds ripped right out of the arcade. I mean, it was like having an arcade system at home. A system, I felt like that the PS1 was just incredibly powerful because of the way that it ported and emulated the arcade. Now, of course, a lot more games came along on the PS1, and it was just such a great system with a huge library and just a really long lifespan. And I still play and love my PS1 today. It's one of my favorite consoles of all time. So I guess that is one of the reasons that Ridge Racer, it is not my favorite PS1 game, but it did define me as a gamer. And none of these games on here, I shouldn't say none of them, but Most of them were not chosen because they're my favorite games of all time. No, they had a reason and a meaning, and it was because it made me the gamer I am today. And so there you go. That's the fifth and final game on this particular list of games that define me as a gamer. There may be a part 2, maybe a part 3. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But what I'd really like to hear is from you guys. What games defined you as a gamer? What games have that special meaning to you and just really propelled you forward in video gaming and are part of your journey? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging around and watching this video, and thank you so much for making it to the end. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.
So you'll watch it later, huh? Here's a